Previously, he began the battle against the Black Veil monster. They exchanged blows fiercely, but Zhao unleashed a powerful attack, believing it to be the end. However, the monster evolved once again and struck back. Yifan attempted to hold it off, but his skills were on cooldown. Suddenly, a massive fist struck down on the monster, and as Zhao looked up in awe, he saw it was his master. Just as he opened his mouth to call out, he collapsed, losing consciousness. Now to this week's chapter. The scene shifts to the next day in a hospital building. Zhao jolts awake, his eyes wide with panic. He screams, "My master needs to be careful." Yue smiles with joy at the sight of him awake, her relief evident now that he is finally conscious. Zhao looks around, confusion crossing his face as he takes in his surroundings. He asks her where he is and how he ended up here. Yue lifts her arm to her chest, stating that he is in a hospital. Then she moves to sit on the edge of the bed and explains that after he fainted, his master began clearing out all the parasite worms. She adds that they were unable to locate the queen worm at that time, making it difficult to defeat it. Since they couldn't do anything further, they decided to bring him here to recover. Just then, a worried expression crosses Zhao's face as he remembers that he wasn't the only one hurt in that battle. He recalls how Yifan did his best to protect them at the end of the fight and anxiously questions her about how Yifan is doing now. But Yue's expression turns sad as she looks down, understanding the gravity of Yifan's injuries during the fight. She explains to Zhao that Yifan is currently in the intensive care unit. She continues, explaining that during the boss's final attack, Yifan did his best to hold it back. However, unable to use his immortality skill again, his bones shattered from the impact. Despite the severity of his injuries, the other effect of the skill allows him to heal slowly, and he should fully recover once the immortality skill comes off cooldown. She emphasizes that he was still able to survive. But suddenly, they hear loud footsteps approaching as a nurse rushes through the door, looking worn out. She quickly questions both of them, asking if they are on the same team as Yifan and if they have seen him. He looks at the nurse with a concerned expression, asking her what is going on and if something has happened to Yifan. Yue, meanwhile, looks confused and shocked by the nurse's urgency. But she explains that Yifan has gone missing. His expression turns serious as he wonders whether Yifan was taken by someone or if he left on his own. Hearing the news, Yue gets up and looks at him, her face serious. She recalls that his master mentioned their team should track down the parasite worms on their own. She adds that Yingwei is also affected by the parasite worms, concluding that Yifan must have left to find Yingwei and deal with the parasites. Zhao gets up from the bed and comments that Yingwei is the key link. He explains that a fourth-tier parasite can reproduce asexually and split, but if they can take down the queen parasite, the others will lose their connection to her and begin to die off on their own. Zhao continues, rubbing his wrist as he states that Yifan must have discovered something and gone to investigate on his own, since he couldn't ask for help from them while he was still unconscious from the battle. However, Yue adds that there's also some bad news. The Guardians organization has deducted 100 points from their team. He stops thinking about Yifan and starts to question why they lost points, struggling to come up with an answer. He looks at her, stating that it can't be true. But Yue states that since his master finished the mission, all the other teams that took on the job also failed, resulting in points being deducted from everyone. Zhao, feeling furious, comments that they were fighting on the front line while others dared to pull their nasty tricks behind their backs. He explains that not only did they lose points, but the Guardians also took all the monsters they had defeated during that battle, and all the materials were probably moved back to the Guardians organization's building. He then wonders why his master didn't do anything to help him and questions Yue, asking if his master mentioned anything about the situation. She lifts her finger, recalling that his master stated it was a matter between the Deep Blue City Guardians and that they would not interfere. Zhao smiles, interpreting this as a sign that his master might help him after all. He understands that his master feels confident he can deal with Deep Blue City's leader, Zhao, and his guardians without the head office coming to Zhao's aid. He grabs her hand and heads toward the door, saying they are leaving. Yue protests, reminding him that he just recovered and should rest. She asks where they are going, and he replies that they're going to get back what is theirs. The scene shifts to another room where teams are discussing how generous Captain Zhao is for splitting the tier for Zerg monster materials among all the teams. One member comments that Zhao is only doing this because they did all the work, But suddenly, Zhao kicks the doors open to the room where everyone is gathered. Everyone turns to see who kicked the doors open, and one person realizes this is Zhao's room, wondering if Zhao even knows whose space he just barged into. Suddenly, Zhao screams out in front of everyone, demanding that Zhao come out and see him now. But one of Zhao's men steps forward with a mocking expression, questioning why Zhao is here and commenting that he should have informed them of his visit. Zhao ignores the question and insists that they get Zhao out here now. But a member of Zhao's team laughs, taunting Zhao for being a bit aggressive today. He warns Zhao to watch his words while clenching his fist behind his back and walks up to him. As soon as he gets within range, he leaps forward with a smile, asserting that Zhao should know his place and reminding him that this is not a place to cause trouble. Zhao remains calm, thinking that this person is too weak to test him right now. In a flash, the individual who attacked didn't even notice Zhao smash him across the face, as Zhao considers how flies always hang around trash. His blow sends the attacker flipping back, crashing into the ground face first and creating a small dust cloud from the impact. The attacker lies there in pain as Zhao unleashes his fighting aura, lifting his fist and looking down at him mockingly. He questions whether the attacker is aware that his cheeky smile really makes people want to slap it away. As other members of Zhao's team pull out their phones to record what just happened, one of them remarks that they've caught the whole thing and will send it to the head office, implying that Zhao will be in trouble. Meanwhile, the attacker begins to push himself up from the ground. He suddenly jumps towards Zhao with his weapon in hand. He screams and threatens that Zhao will lose a limb for doing that to him. While Zhao wonders why this fly is still testing him and decides to grab his arm, while the attacker cannot believe he captured his arm. Then Zhao begins swinging his arm from left to right, crushing the attacker to the ground. Zhao laughs and mocks him, saying that he won't be able to make his cheeky smile for a while after this. But suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, stating that it's enough. Zhao looks back, thinking that it's about time Zhao showed up. He sees Zhao looking visibly pissed off and states that he finally made it. Zhao glares at him, questioning what Zhao wants with him. While still holding the attacker, Zhao lifts his finger and states that he wants Zhao to apologize to him and his team. Zhao smiles and laughs, replying that Zhao came all this way for that. He adds that Zhao must be dreaming if he thinks he will do such a thing. Zhao looks back and questions if Zhao has sent the video of Zhao attacking another person to the head office. Zhao replies that he already has, smiling as he adds that he also sent it to Vice Head Su Mingxuan and the supervisory department. Zhao crosses his arms, thinking that getting rid of Zhao is too easy. He declares that Zhao is done for, insisting that the head office will see the video of him hurting another person and that he will be severely punished for it. Hearing this, Yue becomes scared and looks at Zhao, expressing her worrying for him. However, Zhao remains unfazed, telling her that his master will take care of the higher-ups and stating that they won't dare do anything since his master would have already warned them. Zhao thinks that Zhao is lying about the people he sent the video to and how they won't be able to do anything to him. He calls out to Zhao, asking what the head office said. Zhao looks scared as he glances at Zhao and replies that the head office stated this is an internal matter for Deep Blue City and should be handled by them. Zhao gets furious at what he hears and demands to know what the supervisory department said. Zhao replies that the supervisory department expressed their admiration for the young man's skills and asked if Zhao would be interested in joining them. But Zhao doesn't believe it and decides to listen to the messages from the head office and the department himself. As he listens, his anger boils over, and he grabs his earpiece, throwing it to the ground. He starts cursing at the head office and the department for not helping him. Zhao smiles as he looks at Zhao, questioning whether he has decided how he's going to apologize to his team. Still furious, Zhao asks what Zhao wants from him and what it will take to make him stop causing a mess in his city. Zhao replies that his team worked really hard to defeat the level 4 tier monster and other creatures, and he heard that Zhao took all the materials for himself. With a confident look, Zhao states that he wants to enter the Guardians organization's treasure vault and choose what he wants, leaving only when he's ready. He insists that he's doing this on behalf of all his team members. Zhao replies that the vault is a place where only hand-picked rare items are stored and that it's impossible for him to grant access. However, Zhao knows Zhao has the power to allow him into that place. He questions Zhao, pointing out that it looks like he doesn't want to apologize for taking his team's materials. Zhao adds that he only has 2 hands, questioning how much he could possibly take from the vault. Zhao stops and thinks about what Zhao said, realizing the truth in his words. He understands that one person can only carry so much with just two hands. As he considers this, he thinks that this might be the answer he has been looking for. Zhao looks at Zhao and agrees, adding that he can only be the one to enter and that no items can be hidden other than what he can carry in his hands. He states that as long as it's in his hands, he can take whatever items he can manage with two hands. Zhao drops the attacker to the ground and agrees to the new arrangement. He then laughs a little, thinking about how he has a plan in mind to help himself. Looking down at his hand, he rubs the ring on his finger and comments that nothing can be hidden anywhere except for his hands. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.